So I was traveling all day yesterday with my family, and we had a long vacation. You know, we went to Portugal. We then flew to Israel, spent a couple of days there, and then we flew back. We flew from Israel all the way to London. We spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours in London, and then we had a flight from London all the way to New York. And of course, the airport that we landed on was JFK Airport, John F. Kennedy Airport. And we were going to look for transportation. And I sat in one of the chairs just waiting on what was going on. And I go on my phone. And a friend texted me. And this was the same friend that told me about the passing of Brody Lee. And the way I found out about the passing of Brody Lee was this friend texted me. We always talk about wrestling. We always text back and forth talking about what's going on in the shows or whenever big stories would break. And he texted me. The way I found out about Brody Lee's passing was he texted me, "Did you hear the news?" And I replied, "What news?" I briefly left the conversation on social media. And I click on one of the stories on Instagram, and it stated Brody Lee passed away. And when I was at that story on Instagram, the notification popped, and he said, Brody Lee passed away. That was how I found out about the passing of Brody Lee. Fast forward, that same friend texted me, and I didn't move away from the conversation. He went straight at it. And he said, Bray Wyatt just died. Bray Wyatt just passed away. And I would be lying to you if I told you that it didn't shock me, because it really did. And it really kind of attacked me right on the heart when I found out that Bray Wyatt passed away. Mainly because of the fact that it was something that was completely unexpected, but also because of the fact that he was one of the most creative minds currently in the industry today. Bray Wyatt, there are many words that you can describe Bray Wyatt, or Wyndham Rotunda, which is his real life name, Wyndham Rotunda. He was very charismatic. He was unique. He was bizarre in character, of course, not in real life, but as a character, his multiple characters, you know, the Eater of Worlds, the New Face of Fear, the Fiend, the White Rabbit. All his different characters were very bizarre, very emotional, but also just a phenomenal storyteller. That is really the best way that you can describe Bray Wyatt as a whole. He was just a great storyteller. His promos really brought a level of emotion that you really haven't seen. And he really brought his own unique style into what he was talking about when it came to his promos. You know, his tone and everything. It could literally be the thing, you know, what he would talk about, right? If you were a fan not watching wrestling, if you were not watching and you were not a wrestling fan at all, and you would listen to Bray Wyatt speak, and it could be something that you have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. I guarantee you, if you weren't a wrestling fan, by the end of that promo that Bray Wyatt would cut, you would probably go to the guy next to you that was also listening and be like, oh my God, this guy is such a great talker. Bray Wyatt was one of those guys that brought a level of emotion that you really do not see today in professional wrestling. I can remember the build-up towards his main roster debut. Now, keep in mind, his main roster debut was in, I believe, the summer of 2013. And I believe he was in developmental for a couple of years. I didn't follow NXT. I was 11. I didn't watch NXT at the time. But Bray Wyatt, WWE would air these video packages of Bray Wyatt, and they were very bizarre video packages. They were very weird video packages. They were weird video packages that really just kept you interested week by week by week, even if it was literally something that just threw you off guard. It was something that really just kind of was like, wow, what is this? I actually want to see this guy. And I can remember watching with my little sister at the time. It sounds weird. But I can remember watching with my little sister the debut of Bray Wyatt. And the build-up towards the debut was very, very, I don't want to say spooky, but it was kind of scary in a way. It was very scary, and it was very just weird. It kind of looked like something off of a horror movie where you had a camera literally in the Wyatt family house, and you had, Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper. He would kind of guide the person in the camera. And there'd be a guy in the door saying, "Obey, obey, obey." And then the camera would turn, and then Bray Wyatt would show up. And Bray Wyatt would just cut this promo talking about how he created war, blah, blah, blah. It was just such a level of just intensity that you really do not see it a lot nowadays. Bray Wyatt was that type of guy. I can remember the storyline with Luke Harper. Luke Harper, of course, Eric Rowan, and Randy Orton. And that was during the SmackDown era that everybody remembers in 2016, where Randy Orton was kind of lured into the Wyatt family. And it ended up becoming one of the best stories that really Bray Wyatt has ever told. The build up to their match, which was not really that good, but the build up to their match at WrestleMania 33 was probably one of the best builds to any WrestleMania match. I don't care what anybody says. The storyline with Daniel Bryan, where he tried to do the same thing with Daniel Bryan, and they had that cage match, and just the crowd was just up on their feet. The match with the Shield, the Wyatt family versus the Shield, the Fiend, the Firefly Funhouse. Heck, I'll go as far as to say last year, say what you want about this recent Bray Wyatt run, and there's very valid reasons why it wasn't as good as it was, but you can't deny the build-up, for Bray Wyatt's return was amazing, absolutely amazing. You had the White Rabbit, the QR codes. They literally had White Rabbit play during intermissions if you were at the actual live shows, with no music at all, just the vocals. Just that alone really made everything just stand out so well. And the best way that I can describe Bray Wyatt was Bray Wyatt's story, and I'm talking about in the wrestling realm. Bray Wyatt's story was, again, bizarre, scary, but at the same time very beautiful. And what made Bray Wyatt special was really all it does is boil down to one word, and that was variety. What makes wrestling special is the variety that it brings. And Bray Wyatt's a good example about that. Everybody loves the in-ring work, the athleticism, but also there's another group of people that love the storyline aspect. And there's another group of people that also like the storyline aspect, but also love the character aspect of professional wrestling. Bray Wyatt, even though he was really good in the ring, the highest strengths that Bray Wyatt had were his storytelling ability and his character work. Because those two blended in together so well that he was able to tell a good story that you were emotionally invested in and wanted to see more of week by week by week by week by week. That was the best way that I could describe Bray Wyatt. And when I found out about his passing, it was just heartbreaking. We've been hearing all these reports about Bray Wyatt having health issues, and we all thought he was on his road to recovery. But unfortunately, what happened. He passed, and it's just very hard to comprehend. We lost a lot of people this year. We lost Jay Briscoe very unexpectedly. We lost the Iron Sheik. We lost Terry Funk a day before. And now we lost Bray Wyatt. I don't know how to really contemplate this, but what I'm happy about is at least we got to experience Bray Wyatt even though in the creative aspect it wasn't the best, And yes, WWE creatively did kind of, in a way, fumble with Bray Wyatt and in the development, not the development, but in the story aspect of his character. They didn't really know what to do with it. But at least he was there, and we got to experience his own little world. And speaking of worlds, you know, the saying goes, he's got the whole world in his hands. Well, Bray Wyatt brought us, all the fans, into his own world. Hence why he always says he's got the whole world in his hands, because the whole world is his world. And that is the best way that I can describe Bray Wyatt for you. I want to come out here and say this, and I know I say this whenever a tragedy like this happens, but every time when a tragedy like this happens and I say what I say, it's because of the fact that it's very real. You know, tell your loved ones that you love them every day. Tell your loved ones that you love them every day, even if you are on bad terms with them. And I believe I've said this with Jay Briscoe as well, but I'm going to say it again with Bray Wyatt because it's an important message that I want to give to the viewers of this channel and that I really want to give to just people in general. Life is a blessing every day. Every day when you wake up, whether it's at 6 in the morning or 12 noon, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It could be the worst day in the world. That worst day in the world is still a blessing. Because on that same day, you never know, somebody who you don't know probably unexpectedly passed. We do not know when we will all pass away. But at the end of the day, that gives us as human beings time to cherish the time that we have in this earth. Because even though it seems like our lives are long, the reality is life is short. Life is short. God has a plan for all of us. We do not know when we will pass, and tomorrow's not guaranteed. So treat every day like it's a blessing, and tell your loved ones every day that you love them, because you do not know if that is the last time that you will see them again. That is the message that I want to tell everybody. Bray Wyatt's passing was completely unexpected. But you know what? At least we got to experience and watch his creativity grow and grow and grow and grow. Bray Wyatt, as a human, was a phenomenal human being. His personal life was really mostly kept private. We've all known him from his, time on TV, but still, he was only 36 years old. He's a father, It really does suck that we lost a guy like Bray Wyatt, but from the time that we saw Bray Wyatt on television all these years, I'm glad to say that I got to experience Bray Wyatt, that I got to experience his creativity, and I got to experience his passion for the industry, and just bringing the level of storytelling that he did, not only in the ring, but in all of his promos. Just the pure, raw emotion that he would speak. Just by the tone of his voice, you can tell this guy is something special. Bray Wyatt, at the end of the day, was special. Wyndham Rotunda, the person, was special. That's what I want to really give to all of you guys. Tell your loved ones you love them every single day, because, again, you do not know when it's the last time that you'll ever see them. That is the message that I want to give to all of you guys watching this video. My thoughts and prayers go out to Wyndham Rotunda's family. I know this is a difficult time for them, and losing somebody like Wyndham is going to be very tough, but they're definitely going to be hanging on. But my thoughts and prayers are with them, and I just want to say we love you, Bray Wyatt. You were a big part of why people love this industry the way that they love it. He's one of the reasons why. You're one of the reasons why. And we will all miss you. We love you, Bray.
listening to the WrestleHavoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast, here to review Friday Night SmackDown from August 25th, 2023. It is the tribute and the remembrance of the life of course, the Eater of Worlds, the White Rabbit, the Fiend, whatever you want to call him, Bray Wyatt, a.k.a., as he goes in real life, Wyndham Rotunda. Overall thoughts on this show. You know, this wasn't a full-fledged, tribute show like we saw with Brody Lee or with Eddie Guerrero. But it was one of those shows that just got the job done and delivered the message very, very, very well by the, moves that some of the wrestlers did, either whether it was a wrestler doing a move of Bray Wyatt or a wrestler doing a move of Terry Funk. They definitely showcased everything that they needed to showcase on this show. And really, overall, in terms of storyline development, there was some storyline development. Of course, WWE has a pay-per-view next Saturday, that being Payback from Pittsburgh, which I believe 3 matches have been announced. Actually, now we have 4 matches on the card. I believe they added LA Knight versus The Miz. But, we have matches already set for the show, but there was not really a lot of build towards Payback, and honestly, rightfully so, because of the fact that really the more important aspect on this particular show was the tribute of not only Bray Wyatt, but also Terry Funk. So, overall thoughts on SmackDown. I thought this was a pretty good show, especially with all the circumstances. This was a pretty good show. My apologies, by the way, for the intro accidentally playing. But nonetheless, I thoroughly enjoyed the show for what it was. It was a great show nonetheless. Some of the matches we saw were pretty good. I don't want to say it was a generic episode of SmackDown because, again, due to circumstances, everybody was just affected by the tragedy that happened yesterday. But nonetheless, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable show and really a very emotional show with all the video packages that they showed. Not only of Terry Funk, but also Bray Wyatt. The opening 10-bell salute was just very emotional in and of itself. But yeah, that was basically my initial thoughts on SmackDown. I'm not really going to be going full in-depth when it comes towards this show. It's actually going to be pretty brief. By pretty brief, I probably mean at least 30 to 35 minutes, maybe even into 40 minutes. But it's not going to really take that long as usually I would during a pay-per-view. But before I get on with all of this craziness, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, as you guys all noticed, I haven't been uploading videos for, roughly around the last 9 days. My original plan, because if you guys don't know, I was away on vacation with family. I was in Portugal for almost a week or a whole week, and then I flew to Israel to stay there for a couple of days, and then I came back yesterday. And when I came back, as I stated at the top of this video, I ended up finding out about the passing of Bray Wyatt due to a text by a friend. And I was originally going to do a AEW Dynamite review. I was planning on covering AEW Dynamite. But due to respect towards, Bray Wyatt and the passing of Bray Wyatt, I decided not to review Dynamite. But I will be covering SmackDown, which I'm doing right now. But I was planning on doing reviews over there, but just the schedule aspect of just the time difference, because if you think about it, if you're in Portugal, 8 p.m. Eastern time is 1 a.m. over there, and as well as Israel, 8 p.m. Eastern here is 3 a.m. over in Israel. So the time difference is absolutely insane. But I ended up, I watched some of the shows, but then later on near the end of the vacation, I was kind of just looking at clips of the shows because, again, I didn't want to really take a lot of notes. And honestly, just the fact that we were on the road almost every day kind of halted me from doing all these reviews. So my apologies if that was on short notice, but I didn't upload because of the fact that I was on vacation. But I am finally back, and I am back in business. Of course, it's going to be a long weekend. Of course, we have Collision tomorrow, which has been already taped. I believe they taped it immediately after Dynamite. But of course, the big thing that's going to happen is AEW All in London at Wembley Stadium, and you bet your ass that I'm going to be covering All In at Wembley Stadium. It's going to be a great, phenomenal, just absolutely amazing night of wrestling. If anything, this is AEW's WrestleMania. But I will be giving you guys my preview and predictions tomorrow right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast. But before, I just go off topic talking about All In, let's talk about SmackDown. Of course, SmackDown is paying tribute to the late and great Bray Wyatt, who unfortunately passed away yesterday. The show kicks off with the 10-bell salute with the entire WWE roster there. Eric Rowan was there, and they did showcase Eric Rowan on camera, which was great to see. He was also at the Brody Lee tribute show as well. But they did the 10-bell salute, and it was very emotional. And after the 10-bell salute, in the center of the stage, they had the rocking chair. They had the rocking chair of Bray Wyatt with the spotlight on. That really hit me. That was very emotional as well. And after that, they showcased a very well-produced video package of Bray Wyatt and his entire WWE career, which was great to see. If there's one thing that WWE is very, very, very good at, is its production. Their production is top-notch, and they're phenomenal at what they do. And the video packages that they produce really bring that level of emotion that you really want to see in a show. Not just in a wrestling show, in any other wrestling show, or in any other show in general. Sorry, my throat is kind of messed up. But the show kicks off with Rey Mysterio and Grayson Waller. This was a pretty not bad match. Of course, Rey Mysterio is the current United States champion. And honestly, my thoughts of Rey Mysterio beating Austin Theory for the United States Championship, I'm not mad about it, considering the fact that Austin Theory's United States Championship title reign has been nothing but forgettable. I've always stated this every week on this podcast. Austin Theory's, ever since beating John Cena at WrestleMania, Austin Theory has done absolutely nothing. Not only in terms of development for where he wants to be in the future, but it's not on Austin Theory. It's on WWE Creative. WWE Creative did not really made the viewer care in terms of Austin Theory. But also his title reign was just flat out forgettable, and they didn't really do anything with the direction of the U.S. title. But nonetheless, this was a pretty good match. We had Rey Mysterio taking on Grayson Waller. I believe this was not a title match. This was a non-title match. Grayson Waller was great, of course. Rey fires a right hand. Grayson goes for a side headlock. We get a shoulder tackle by Waller. We then get a Hurricane Rana by Rey. Rey then goes for repeated right hands. Rey's on the apron. He tries to go for a springboard, but then he gets taken out by Grayson Waller. Once we're back in commercial break, Waller's in control over Rey Mysterio, but then Waller goes to the top. He goes to the middle rope, and then he ends up hitting the elbow drop. We then get a cover into near fall. Waller then ends up going for a kick, taking down Rey. Later on in the match, we get a senton by Rey. So what happens is Waller runs the ropes, and he runs into a lariat or a clothesline. And then Rey ends up hitting a senton. Of course, those are shades of Bray Wyatt. That was a nice little tribute for Rey Mysterio right over there. We then get a dropkick on the knees of Waller, taking him to the top, to the center of the top rope. Austin Theory comes out, and Waller tries to go for the roll-up to get the win, but we get a double crossbody by both men, knocking each other down. Santos Escobar comes out for the save, but then Theory regains control and ends up hitting the chop block on Santos Escobar on the outside. Rey's on the outside. Waller takes him out. He then takes out Escobar. He comes back into the ring. Rey goes for the 619. And Theory goes for, he grabs for the boot of Rey Mysterio, who is on the apron. But then Escobar immediately hits a dropkick, knocking out Theory. Rey goes for the crossbody, and we get a cover, and Rey Mysterio gets the win. overall thoughts, it was a pretty good match to say the least. LWO, are they riding high? Honestly, not. I do expect a breakup maybe in the future, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good match to kick off the show. Throughout the entire show, by the way, WWE put out QR codes leading you towards YouTube videos showcasing Bray Wyatt video by video of his whole career, dating back from the original vignettes of who is Bray Wyatt and why he is here, and the cult leader Bray Wyatt, the Eater of Worlds, the new face of fear. Followed that by the Firefly Funhouse. Followed that by the White Rabbit and all that stuff. So that was a nice touch. Very, very, very beautiful touch. We had Io Sky versus Zelina Vega for the WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky, I believe this is her first title defense of the Women's Championship ever since winning the title by cashing it in on Bianca Belair at SummerSlam. Overall, this was not a bad match whatsoever. It was kind of back and forth by both. Zelina did gain a lot of offense during this match. Io comes in and drops her down. We get a cover by Io into near fall. Later on in the match, Zelina Vega is going after Io Sky. She takes her out. She flattens Io with a hammerlock leg sweep. Then she ends up hitting the Meteora. We get a cover and a kick out. We then get a springboard dropkick by Io Sky, but then Damage Control, meanwhile, are excited. After that, Io picks up Zelina, but then Zelina counters with a DDT. And then she tries to go for the Code Red, but then Io Sky ends up picking her up. She then hits the Powerbomb, but then Zelina later on manages to hit the Code Red. A very beautiful Code Red, to say the least. But then Io rolls to the outside, trying to save herself from getting pinned, of course. And then Io sends Zelina to the steel steps. Once her back into the ring, she ends up hitting the double knees into the corner, and then drags Zelina into the center. Io goes to the top. She ends up hitting a moonsault, and we get a cover, and Io Sky retains the WWE Women's Championship. Overall, not a bad match whatsoever. Of course, it's Io Sky. I do believe she will be having a lengthy title reign. Is Damage Control still going to be together? I have absolutely no idea, but honestly, to say the least, if I think where I think WWE is headed, I think we're probably looking at a Damage Control breakup storyline couple of months down the line in the future, because for a fact with Bayley being the heel, you can tell by the fact that Bayley ain't playing around and she really wants the title that Io Sky won. That's just my opinion right over there, but we're gonna have to wait and see what they do with, of course, Damage Control. I've always stated Damage Control has been a failed experiment, and I think it's best for Io Sky to really go out on her own, branch on her own, and really showcase what she is truly about, and that is a singles, just professional wrestler that just knows it. We got a Cody Rhodes segment. Cody Rhodes segment paying tribute to, of course, Terry Funk, who passed away as well. He says, "So, Louisville, Kentucky." And you would think he was going to say, "What do you want to talk about?" But he says, "I already know what I want to talk about." And he says he's going to tell us about a time. He was 11 years old. He was at the Denver airport, and he was traveling with his father, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And across the mover, he hears a man yelling the most peculiar insult. A man calling his father an egg-sucking dog. And he asks Michael Cole if they could say that on Fox. Nice little comedic touch right over there. He couldn't see the man yelling, but he assumed they were going to have a domestic incident. But then he sees him, the perpetuator of the Double Cross Ranch, that being Terry Funk. We get a bunch of Terry chants by the crowd. And, of course, he talks about the ability of them calling themselves WWE superstars. And over the years, we've been called other things. Wrestlers, competitors, hell, we were called even carnies. There's a fabled few who earn the right to call themselves cowboys. Both Terry and Bray were cowboys in the best of ways. He had the privilege to talk about Terry, second generation. He wore the 10 pounds of gold. If you guys do not know what the 10 pounds of gold is, it is, of course, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and he wore it proudly. Terry actually attended classes at, of course, Texas State. I believe that's a university. He's been constantly in pro wrestling, and he's been constantly and consistent in pro wrestling for 50 years. For 50 years, Terry has constantly been changing, and he talks about this little thing called the rub, when someone with a legacy steps in the ring with someone who doesn't have the legacy. But Terry did that for an entire promotion and a movement and a revolution. Of course, he's talking about his ECW run. So let us take back a look at this Cowboy Hall of Fame career, this Cowboys Hall of Fame career. And then they show a video package of Terry Funk's career. Cody then states, from Texas to Tokyo, Terry was passionate, extremely passionate. Tables, ladders, and chairs hardcore. And he's been glad he's been given the authority that this next tag team match will be a Terry Funk hardcore match. That was a nice touch. I loved how they kind of took the idea of a tag team match and they were just like, you know what, let's just make this into a hardcore match paying tribute to Terry Funk. My only problem with this whole match was the fact that this whole match wasn't really that hardcore. For teams like the Brawling Brutes and the Street Profits, you would think we were going to get like a crazy Terry Funk type match with barbed wire, freaking ladder spinning all over the place. No, we didn't really get that. We just saw a table spot and that was it. So the match was pretty generic to say the least, but it got the job done, and I'm not really mad about that considering the fact that, of course, they didn't really have enough time to kind of rehearse what they wanted to do with the certain spots with the weapon, so I would assume that's why they did what they did. But it wasn't a bad match whatsoever, to say the least. Butch drop kicks the Profits. I'm not really going to go through this whole match. Rich Holland picks up Butch, and he spins him around just like Terry Funk and ECW with the ladder, taking down every one of the Street Profits. Holland runs through Dawkins, and then he tries to pick up Dawkins. He then tries to pick him up, but then Dawkins ends up going for a backdrop. Butch drives his knee on Dawkins, but then, of course, Ford ends up hitting a somersault on the outside. After that, Bobby Lashley comes out. And then what happens is later on is Holland goes for a clothesline. Holland and Dawkins are on the top, but then Holland goes for a superplex. Then Ford comes out of nowhere and hits a frog splash. We get a cover, but Butch is hitting a running dropkick. Butch takes out the ladder. Lashley looks at Butch with a shocked look on his face. Of course, he has the table. Table came out from under the ring, and then Holland picks up Ford, but then Dawkins comes in. He gets caught, and Butch twists the fingers of Dawkins. Dawkins is placed on the table, but then Lashley spears the hell out of Butch in a suit, in the most badass spear that I've ever seen. After that, the Profits drive Holland through the table, and we get a cover, and they win the match. Jesus Christ, I am like super tired right now. My apologies if I don't sound as well as I usually do. But overall, this was not a bad match whatsoever. My only concern or complaint really was that you're calling this a Terry Funk, hardcore match, and barely anything happened that was hardcore on this match, to be quite honest with you. Shout out to Terry Funk as well. Terry Funk has unfortunately passed away as well. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family as well. LA Knight is in action. He cuts a promo. Talks about he's going to hold off for The Miz for a second. But tonight, it's about Bray Wyatt. He walked here and he saw everyone representing with the Fireflies. And he had him thinking, sometimes your greatest foes can turn out to be your greatest helpers. And he had him thinking, sometimes your greatest foe can turn out to be your greatest helpers. And let's be honest, we both went through hell. He's talking about he and Bray Wyatt. He did everything. They got him ready for anything. He held himself well together. His heart breaks when he looks at pictures of his family, and you can hear it and you can feel it. He knows all you can feel is the spirit of Bray Wyatt that's in this building. The crowd is holding up their phones, and he says, you will repeat that exact statement. And he says, we get a bunch of thank you, Bray chants. It's because it's the same spirit that lets him stay or say, let me talk to you. Miz then gets on the screen on TMZ, and he says, that is the same old material. He says, LA Knight is just a fad. And he says, you're just yesterday's news. But guess what? He's okay with that because you were a never were. And even when you had a stunt double, everybody talked about the stunt double more than him. But it was just the background of the bigger story of The Rock and John Cena, which was hilarious. Yeah, you still want to talk about him, If you're looking for at the end of LA Night, you're looking too long. Hell, I'll show you wherever it's Raw, SmackDown, TMZ, or everybody when it's saying LA Night. Yeah. And one more thing, Miz, a wise man once told me, the next time you see me, run. Again, another tribute towards Bray Wyatt. You absolutely love to see it. Great promo by LA Knight, man. LA Knight deserves all the credit that he gets, and he deserves every dollar that he is getting paid. Just look at the reactions that this man is getting. Absolutely insane. We got LA Knight taking on Finn Balor. A relatively short match, to say the least, but it wasn't bad. LA Knight is in control. He drives Balor repeatedly onto the announce table head first. LA Knight goes for the shoulder tackle, and then we get a cover into near fall. We then get a back elbow by LA Knight. But then Balor regains control. Once we're back from commercial break, Balor's in control. LA Knight regains control with a neck breaker. Then LA Knight goes for repeated rights on Balor. We then get a DDT by Knight, and we get a cover into near fall. After that, Balor gets dropped down by LA Knight onto the mat. Later on, we get a sling blade by Balor, but then runs into a clothesline by LA Knight. We get repeated kicks by LA Knight, but then he runs into a hip attack by Balor. Later on, LA Knight goes for a beautiful and clean ass power slam. We then get an elbow drop by Knight, but then we get a cover by LA Knight and a near fall. We get a kick by Knight, and he tries to go for the BFT, but we get a cover by Balor and a near fall. But then Balor drives down LA Knight. Balor goes to the top, but then LA Knight comes in, dropping Balor on the floor, and he goes up the second rope. But then LA Knight comes back and he hits a superplex. Knight ends up hitting the BFT, the blunt force trauma. We get a cover, and LA Knight gets the win in the main event of SmackDown. So that was really SmackDown, to say the least. Nothing really important happened on this show. There was no Roman Reigns, no Bloodline, no nothing. This show is primarily about, Wyndham and, of course, it was just, and Terry Funk. This whole show was dedicated towards, Wyndham and Terry Funk and their passings. It's a very emotional show, to say the least. Very, very, very emotional show. Honestly, I still can't contemplate the fact that Bray is gone, but it is what, it's just going to be very tough, without him. And hopefully, I got the message clear about life in general, because it is a life lesson that we all really need to take into consideration, because sometimes we are blinded by a lot of things. And I really wanted to show everybody that, life is precious. And, we need to cherish every day about the life that we have. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from August 25th, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys later. Peace.